All right, we are back here wrapping up the podcast week, going into the world of baseball movies for the first time on the podcast, going to my all-time favorite, Field of Dreams. We are coming right after the 4th of July on the podcast. Joining me today, our pop culture correspondent, the great Sam Derosa. Sam, welcome back. How are you?
Well, thanks for having me back again.
Hey, people ask for you. That's why you keep coming back.
I'd like the names of these people to send them personal thank you cards.
I will get those to you off the air.
Ah, thank you.
Yes, I don't want to shout people out on the air too much who are not on the show. So
I understand. I actually have a nice thank you note composition, like those little cards. So I need things to do during this quarantine.
Indeed, we'll discuss that off the air. But I just talked to some of our friends in the Yankee fan forum. I talked to Anthony Sarbellini, Troy Moriel, Ian Sachs. I talked about the Yankees getting into this season. So, you're a Yankee person real quick. Quick thoughts on this season coming up.
Just my regular quick thoughts.
Sure.
I'm excited for baseball, but then I'm also not excited for baseball because it's short. So it's a nice torn down the middle, excited, kind of bummed out at the same time. I hope everything goes smoothly and all these regulations work and they can play the full 60 games. I'm just more the hesitant and worried part of the season because I know it hasn't started yet and it's not going to start till the end of July. So I'm excited, but also super nervous. But that's basically all my thoughts. That's all I've let myself think about.
I'm right there with you. Basically, just like counting the days off the calendar, hoping something doesn't go horribly wrong so we actually get to baseball and actually get to see it played out this year because it could be very, very exciting considering that anything could really happen in this game season, aside from maybe the Orioles. That I don't think is going to happen regardless of how many games you give them.
Oh, I feel bad. I know that every series that, every team that they play is going to count extra. Yep. So it's just I think that's also kind of intense. At least that will give it a more hyped up feeling for every game they win. And also every game they lose, will be hyper aware of how they're doing.
Yeah, I was talking with the guys a couple of minutes ago when I basically said, hey, it's kind of like in football. If your team goes 0-2, you're like, uh-oh, what's going on here? If your team starts out 7-13 or 40 and 60 game season, you're like, oh no, what we got to do to get back in this?
That and you can't have a bad game. You can't come out and pitch bad or go 0 for 4. You have to be all in it. You have to be on your game, which for baseball hasn't ever been the case until it gets down to the wire towards playoff season.
Yeah, I think last year there's something pretty much almost every team had a 7-game losing streak at some point, and basically in the 60-game year, a 7-game losing streak is almost like losing 14 in a row, which is a disaster.
Oh my God. It's going to be interesting how the managers are going to have to really look into the future and see how, the rest of the season will be looking and who they're going to play because we still don't have the set schedule as of today, July 1st.
Yeah, as of today, we do not have the schedule yet. Should be fun, 60 games, 6 days. I do think that your favorite Yankee, Brett Gardner, will get plenty of playing time considering the fragility of the rest of the Yankee outfielders.
Yeah, Aaron Judge is still up in the air. To be honest, if I was Aaron Judge's PT guy or whatever, I'd be you know what, sit it out. Wait till next year. Hopefully they'll have a whole season. I mean, hopefully all the guys are itching to get back into those games. But for him with his fractured ribs, you can refracture that. Your bones are still pretty soft. So who knows about Stanton, but that's a different story.
That is a different story. We'll save that for future discussion. But right now, we're going into the world of Field of Dreams. I'm not going to play the spoiler one because this movie is over 30 years old. If you have not seen this movie, I don't know what is wrong with you. You need to go watch it. But what's your quick opinion? When's the first time you saw this movie?
I think I saw this movie when I was 10 or 11. My dad was I'm going to turn on Field of Dreams. I'm I've never seen that. And I've always liked baseball. I didn't start really following baseball till around then as well. But it was a really good movie. It felt more of a movie than just a baseball movie. And I rewatched it today to get it all fresh in my head, and it's still entertaining. It's not something I want to fast forward through, so it's an enjoyable film.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely enjoyable. It's the second big baseball role for Kevin Costner, who basically got himself typecast as a sports movie guy for a while with Bull Durham, with this. For Love of the Game, a little less known baseball movie, but Kevin Costner's in there. One thing I noticed right away when watching this is like compared to the last movie we did, which was Space Jam, where they spent about 10 minutes on the opening credits, we got into the story incredibly fast here. I mean, we get the quick montage of Ray Kinsella's life up to the point of the movie, and then like 5 minutes in, you get if you build it, he will come.
Yeah, they're like, we're not joking, we're not pulling anybody around. This is also 1989 it came out in.
Yep.
So like I feel like film was also a little different back in the day.
Yeah, I'm barely older than this movie. Then a couple months older than the actual movie itself.
Oh, really?
Yep, just a couple months after I was born, this came out.
Okay, well, it's like pre-dresses or whatever that word is.
Yeah.
It's like it's before me, but not too long.
Yeah, not too long, but I like we got right into this. And one thing I picked up when I watched the credits of this movie was interesting. The voice itself. The voice is credited as himself. It is not given it never officially been revealed who this person is. Do you have any suspicion of who actually did the voice?
Well, honestly, I was like thinking about that today, and I was like, interesting. And I didn't notice that until actually today, like watching the credits. Just like minding my own business, watching the credits roll through. And I was like, you know what? Let me Google that. So I know they said that, they never gave credit to anyone. But funny enough, bringing it back to all of our Westworld conversations, one of the people is Ed Harris.
Yeah, Ed Harris, the wife of Annie Madigan, who plays Annie in the movie.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't know that either. So I was like, felt like I rewatched this movie again, for the first time.
Yeah, I think what's very interesting it's Ed Harris because we watched him on Westworld quite a bit, and like I don't know what voice he did because that doesn't sound like him at all.
No, and it honestly doesn't sound like everyone thought it was Ray Liotta. And I'm just like, I don't think that's him either.
Yeah. I've heard that one. I've heard people think it was Costner himself. I'm like, that sounded like an odd Costner voice.
Yeah, they said that the director, I read that the director of the movie did the voice himself the first time, but he said he's replaced it with somebody else. But then again, he could just be like pulling our leg, and it was him the whole time, but who knows?
I think the Ed Harris theory probably has the most credence. I feel like it makes the most sense. And like, maybe he didn't want to be credited for it, it's why they just listed it as himself. But I do think he's probably the closest we're gonna get to figuring this out.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So anyway, we go along in the movie here. We get to the point where they're building the baseball field. I love the Gawkers just staring at him making this field. Like there's nothing better to do with their lives in Iowa than watch this guy destroy his crop and build a baseball field.
Yes, I mean, I guess I don't fully understand because I'm not a farmer from Iowa. But like those little like sound bites that they put in, they're like, he's crazy. And I was just like, this is so over the top, very 80s-esque, like film part of it. It was just really funny. I'm like, you could have definitely done without that.
I thought it was pretty hysterical. I also forget, I think when like Ray, when he leaves, when Annie's brother-in-law, brother Mark shows up the first time to talk about the finances of the farm, when he leaves and his buyer's like, he's on acid. I'm like, just burst out laughing in the middle of this. Yeah,
or like they were having dinner and Annie was like, is this an acid forward? Like, it's not an acid like flashback. It's like you're going to take acid in the future. I thought that was like cute. I thought, she's funny. I really liked her character in this.
Yeah, she was good. And she also points out early in the movie, like, hey, like this field, it's like, it's used up all our life savings. Like, how expensive do you think this was in $1989?
I have no idea. You would think things are cheap in Iowa, and then that they went to, maybe they're in debt because they went to like college in Berkeley.
Yeah.
Maybe like that's why they're like their savings is so low. I'm not too sure, but they bought a lot of nails. I remember he was talking to his daughter, Karen, which I thought that was funny. That was her name.
Yeah.
With the life that is 2020. But he bought like 7 boxes of nails, and I feel like that's a lot of nails. They were big boxes.
Yeah, I don't think actually doing the field was the most expensive part. I think the thing that made it nuts was the lights. The lights were just so like over the top, and like they had it rigged to the house. Like that's not cheap.
No, and also they looked like stadium grade lights, not like, oh, I'm sure you can find like those. They have those smaller lights they do on the side of the road for construction.
Yeah,
they probably had some version of that back in '89. So I think they really didn't financially plan for this too well.
No, they didn't. They had this whole set. It actually looks like a baseball field. I did like that. And
Hmm.
one thing that was interesting, I also noticed right away is like the film doesn't address this too much, but like the fact that at the beginning of the movie, it's like the only people who can see the players themselves, see Shoeless Joe, the old White Sox, they show up, are Ray's immediate family. Like, why do you think? You have any theory on why you think they are the only ones who could see the players?
Mine's only thing is like because so like his wife is fully backed him kind of deal, you know, and then also like for him to go out and do these like crazy outrageous things, like they would have, you know, like for this whole scheme to work, like she would have to see them there and stuff, or like she just has 100%, you know, backup, like all this stuff for her husband that like she was like, you know, quote unquote allowed to see it because it was for him. You know, I don't know. I just go a little more into depth in the like reason why. And then always kids believe everything. Yeah. That's probably why Miss Karen got to see everything.
Yeah, it's almost like a little bit like religious sort of overtone to like sort of like the baseball gods where like you believe in them, you can see it.
Yeah, exactly that. And like, you know, baseball is like America's pastime, you know, like the whole like God, you know, like there's some heavy religious undertones, at least back in the day with baseball.
Yeah,
you know, it's superstitious. Like, you know, a lot of like the guys now still wear like crosses, and so you know, I think baseball's always had that like church and baseball kind of deal.
Yeah, they do have all that kind of church and baseball deal, and we do see like obviously the whole situation becomes because Ray wants to keep the field, and you may not be able to because they don't have the money to keep the farm with the mortgage, which I do think. Incredibly supportive from Annie to let him destroy that much of his crop for the baseball field, considering that was their livelihood. So, major
exactly. But then again, she was like, "Let's buy a farm." Like, who was like, "Oh yeah, let's be farmers." I feel like even back in 1989, that wasn't a smart, you know, career choice to get into.
Yeah, it wasn't, and we do see a lot of that small town Iowa vibe, especially in the PTA meeting.
Oh my God, that was a funny scene.
I forgot how great this was. I was watching it again. I'm like, they stuck so many dirty lines into a PG film in 1989. I'm like literally sitting there. I'm just like, they snuck in, like, I'm going to use the Seinfeld reference. They snuck in the master of their own domain. They got all I'm keeping it family friendly. I forgot that happened entirely. And then that popped up. I'm sitting there going, what the hell's going on out here? I'm like, how'd you get this an acid reference in the film in 1989?
I think their ratings were a little less strict as they are today. But other than that, I think maybe it was just because it was cleverly written.
I will say, I mean, they actually got the physical word in, which I was amazed at, because in Seinfeld, in the infamous episode of The Contest, they had to come up with different ways to talk around it.
Yep.
But here, nope, right out in the open.
Just straight out there.
Yeah, and that's when we get, I think, the underrated part of the movie. I think everybody loves the scenes with the baseball field and the players and all that. I think the most underrated part of the movie is Ray's relationship with Terrence Mann.
Yep, and then the whole kidnapping thing was pretty funny too.
Yeah, the kidnapping thing was great. Like the buddy cop like third of the movie when Ray and Mann are together, I think is extremely funny. And I love the Mann thing because Mann, obviously in the book, I don't know if you read this online, like Mann was based on, like the book itself called Shoeless Joe. It basically tells the same story, but the author that Kinsella goes to find is actually J.D. Salinger, who wrote Catcher in the Rye. Then the film adaptation.
I thought I heard something about this, but
yeah. So basically, the story goes is that Salinger threatened to sue the production to hell if they use his likeness. So they created the character of Terrence Mann to sub in for Salinger in the movie.
Well, they did the complete opposite of that. Holy moly!
Yeah, yeah. Because
and then like I thought his character was super, super great. Like, you know how like an author like has some great things, and then my favorite is like don't put your stuff on me, basically, like don't put your problems on me. And he's like, it was just really funny, like don't blame me for not having catch with your dad. I feel like that's like a legit thing that authors can like actually go through.
Yeah. Another underrated funny moment between Ray and Mann when they get to the Red Sox game and they're walking down towards the concessions, and Ray asks him, "What do you want?" And Mann on his whole speech is like, "I want people to leave me alone. I want them to stop blaming for their problems." All this is like, no, what do you want? And he just points to the hot tub. You see the 3 concession guys standing there, like, looking confused.
Yeah, yeah. They're like, funny. And funny enough that it was like Miller Lite. Right? It was Miller Lite, right? Was the beer that you could see on there?
I believe it was. I did not pay close attention to the beer.
It was like one of those weird things that like just stuck out in my brain. I'm just like, interesting. Not like Budweiser, you know? It was like Miller.
Yeah. I do have another fun fact for you about that Red Sox scene. I think you might find interesting.
Oh, because I have one too. Does it have to do with any extras in the movie?
Yes, we have the same fun fact then.
Well, we should have compared notes before, huh?
It's all right. Great.
You tell me the fun fact, and I will do my acting surprise.
Now you give me the fun fact. Like, just point out great minds think alike.
No, all right. Well, Ben Affleck and what's his face, whose name always gets me.
Matt Damon.
Oh no, Matt Damon. I'm picturing him like he's in Hunting. I almost called him Will.
Yeah.
No, they were extras in the baseball thing, but I didn't see them in there. Did you like spot them?
I did not spot them. They were much younger back then, so.
Yeah, they were like 15 and 16 years old.
Yeah, I didn't know where in the scene they were. I tried looking for them, and I paused a couple of times. I just couldn't find them.
Yeah, me too. I was like, I think I like rewound it like a few times. Maybe that's why the Miller Lite thing stuck out to me, because I like kept seeing Miller Lite pushed down on the screen. But I thought that was so cool. I did not know that until recently.
Yeah, I did not know that. I'm so annoyed I couldn't find them, but we do get that moment where man suddenly just like, I will say that's the creepiest thing also in the movies. And Ray drops man all of a sudden he's standing in the middle of the road and he basically just recites what he saw on the scoreboard.
Yeah, I didn't think James Earl Jones could be like creepy like that, but he did a grade A job. I was like, every time it's like, whoa, like, because it's like just the headlamp.
Yeah.
And the camera turns at such like, you know, such a quick angle and it stops. So that was like really well filmed. Excellent
choice there to do that shot, because like you literally, it scares the crap out of you the first time you see it.
Exactly. I mean, it's honestly, it kind of like made me jump this time around. I've seen this movie like 10 or 15 times and it's still, I'm just like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, it does make me go, whoa. And like I say, after they go to Minnesota, they go looking for Moonlight Graham, the parable of Moonlight Graham. And I will say that was also very trippy when Ray happens to go for a walk and somehow ends up back in 1972.
Yeah, I thought that was very like cleverly done. You know, like it doesn't tell you the exact year right away. It kind of it fades into it.
Yeah. And
you see like The Godfather and like Richard Nixon, you know, like a re-campaign or a campaign. I'm not sure. I'm not the biggest history buff.
Yeah.
But then like he scratches off the like dirt and it's like 1972 and I'm just like, holy moly, that was really clever.
Yeah, it was very clever. And then we actually do get to meet Moonlight Graham himself, played by the legendary Burt Lancaster. Do you know it was his last movie role was in this movie?
Was it?
Yeah, it was. It was the last thing.
I didn't know that. See, we only had one similar fun fact.
Yeah, and Burt Lancaster did not want to do this movie. One of his friends was a big baseball fan and had read the book, said, hey, look at this script. You need to do this. And he read the script, like, I'm in.
Yeah, because he's honestly one of, my favorite characters. I thought, like, that his whole storyline was, like, really great.
Yeah, I don't know how many people realize it, but the story of Moonlight Graham is actually based on a real guy who played on the New York Giants in 1905, where he literally got in one game, played defense, never got in at bat, and the guy who wrote the book found this, like, he was like doing baseball research, decided to make a character about him in the book.
Oh, that's so cool. Like I love little things, like little stories like that.
Yeah, they fuzzed a little bit on the timeline. I think the real like Moonlight Graham played the middle of the season, his one game, but this one made the last game of the year. But the acting by Burt Lancaster was phenomenal.
That was great. And then it's just like when he like transforms to save Karen and, not transforms, but like gets like his different ghostly figure.
Yeah.
Like it was great because it's just like he would have picked being a doctor all along.
Yeah. Because
like that's what he was meant to do, which was like really, it was just like very heartwarming.
It was. I did like the little details they put in, especially on the way back when they leave Minnesota and they pick up the hitchhiker who's the young Moonlight Graham. Somehow, I still don't understand how that works, but we'll go with it because it's a baseball movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the part of the movie I don't really like talk about. I'm like, whatever, just go with it.
I love that they keep the little details in about how, like, when I think Moonlight Graham actually says, like, as in, like, in the Burt Lancaster version, like, hey, like, I wanted to, go up in the box, like, wink at the pitcher so he make him think that I have know something he doesn't.
Yep.
And then little kid Graham does it. And he gets the ball thrown in his head.
Yeah, in the back. Don't wink at him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and he's like, Joe, talk to your kid. And he's like, hey, kid, don't wink at him.
Yeah.
I love that scene. And when we get to the climax, we get to the big confrontation with Mark basically saying you have to sell the farm. And we have Terrence Mann is back with them. First of all, great job by Terrence Mann bringing the baseball encyclopedia with him to watch this game so he can keep track of who everybody is.
Yeah, making sure he has all his facts.
Yeah, making sure he has all of his facts. And I did pull some audio from this movie, and he does give one of the greatest movie speeches of all time. I'm going to go to James Earl Jones as Terrence Mann talking about the prophecy of the baseball field.
Ray, people will come, Ray. They'll come to Iowa for reasons they can't even fathom. They'll turn up your driveway, not knowing for sure why they're doing it. They'll arrive at your door as innocent as children, longing for the past. Of course, we won't mind if you look around, you'll say. It's only $20 per person. They'll pass over the money without even thinking about it. For it is money they have, and peace they like.
Ray, just sign the papers.
And they'll walk out to the bleachers. And sit in shirt sleeves on a perfect afternoon. They'll find they have reserved seats somewhere along one of the baselines, where they sat when they were children and cheered their heroes. And they'll watch the game, and it'll be as if they'd dipped themselves in magic waters. The memories will be so thick, they'll have to brush them away from their faces.
Ray, when the bank opens in the morning, they'll foreclose.
People will come, Ray.
You're broke, Ray. You sell now or you lose everything.
The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball. America has rolled by like an army of steamrollers. It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again. But baseball has marked the time. This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again. Oh, people will come, Ray. People will most definitely come.
I have to say, this is probably one of the most iconic speeches of all time in a movie, and James Earl Jones just enjoyed the hell out of giving that speech.
Yes, and then I also read somewhere that his wife really didn't think that was going to make the movie, which this entire quote actually makes the movie.
Yeah. Hey, I'm sure when James Earl Jones saw the script, he's like, that's my spot. That's where I'm going to get to have this epic moment. Mm-hmm. And when they start playing like the patriotic music in the background, it's about how baseball is all about America and all that stuff. You're like, man, it gets you fired up.
I have a canvas, so my goal is to visit all of the baseball stadiums in the U.S. and Canada. But I got to include a quote, and I included the part of this quote where it's the one constant through all the years has been baseball. Yeah. I just left out Ray because I'm not Ray, Yeah. It's not the same. But I just love that part of the movie. It's one of the best parts.
It's a phenomenal part, and I do think he was dead on. He got a vision, and he was accurate, because as we see at the end of the movie, and all people start showing up.
Mm-hmm. But it's funny that the daughter had it first.
Yeah.
She's like, don't worry, people will come.
Yeah. Yeah, the daughter's a little creepy at times, I will say.
Yeah, but, And yes, it's that's what happens when it's part supernatural, a supernatural movie. You get the creepy kid.
Yeah, we do get the creepy kid, and the poor creepy kid, she's collateral damage when Mark and Ray have the fight, and she falls off the bleachers, he's choking, and then one of the funniest moments in the entire movie is when little Archie Graham comes off the field, turned into real life Burt Lancaster, like old Moonlight Graham, and you see Mark in the background just mouthing WTF when he sees this. He has no idea what's going on.
Yeah. Like, where the hell did this guy come from?
Yeah. He's like, what is going on here? Like, literally. And then, like, I just think it was such, like you said before, such a great moment when he does what he has to do and all the players give him the salute on the way off the field. That was awesome.
Oh yeah, that was such an emotional thing. I was like, oh, he's done being a baseball player and being a ghost.
Yeah, because they do tease that very well at the beginning of the movie, where Joe Jackson, like, Ray has to come in the house, and he's like, "Oh, I can't cross the line if I can't come back." And the fact that little Archie Grant's making that sacrifice to save Karen is awesome.
Yeah, because he knew all along he was meant to be a doctor.
Yeah, he was, and we get the great twinkle in Burt Lancaster's eyes. He leaves the field, heads to the cornrows. Like, that was also very nice.
It was.
Yeah. Speaking of the cornrows, we do get the interesting conclusion at the end also, where Shoeless Joe invites Man to go with them into the cornrows, and I don't know about you, I feel like it's heavily implied that Man dies there.
That's what I thought too. But he's like, I'll come back. And I'm just like, are you coming back? Like, that's like the, quote unquote ghost world.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, okay, bye, James Earl Jones.
Yeah, it's like they make such a big deal about it, and like I think he knows too. He tells Ray's like, no, you're attached. I'm unattached. You have a family, so I think he knows that, like, you go there, you die.
Yeah, that, and also, like, it's to get him there, it was ease his pain.
Yeah.
So, like, you ease his pain before he, like, passes.
Yeah.
I had no idea. My thought was he dies. I guess you can make a case that, he doesn't. He comes back. He, like, brings the light out of the cave, using Plato's lovely allegory. But, so, I don't know. My vote is no more James Earl Jones, a.k.a. no more Terrence Mann.
No more Terrence Mann crossing the line. You think he can still show up and be on the field, but I don't think he's going to actually, like, be, like, going inside Ray's house anymore.
True. Would he come back as his, like, quote unquote current age, or would he come back as, like, his author self, where he, like, was in pain all the time? Because he mentioned that, like, he suffered a lot when he was that activist.
Yeah, I think considering movie world version, I think we get James Earl Jones, so we can have James Earl Jones again. But if they found a good young actor to do it, you could do it as younger Terrence Mann.
True, that's true.
Because I don't think you pass on James Earl Jones if you have the opportunity.
Exactly.
Even Lion King went back to James Earl Jones doing Mufasa again because they couldn't find a better voice for him than James Earl Jones.
Exactly. He's probably like, I am so happy I was blessed with this voice, know?
Yeah. Yeah, he does. And then we get the great moment at the end where we finally find out that he in this thing was not Shoeless Joe, but Ray's father. And we get the iconic scene at the end. That's the other clip I have in here. I'm going to play that for us now to take us out of the movie recap.
You catch a good game.
Thank you. It's so beautiful here.
For me, it's like a dream come true. Can I ask you something? Is this heaven? It's Iowa.
Iowa?
Could have sworn it was heaven. Is there a heaven?
Oh, yeah. It's the place dreams come true.
Maybe this is heaven.
Good night, Ray.
catch?
I'd like that.
Yeah, so literally, like, this clip, this moment where we basically get the whole movie, we realize it's about Ray coming to terms with, like, his relationship with his father and him getting to have that moment where he gets to have the catch with his dad after all these years, always hits you in the field. And I feel like I can't get through this movie without bringing a tear to my eye every time I see it.
Yeah, the only thing that pulls that away is like, no, this is Iowa. Like, that killed me. I'm like, I wish there was a better way to phrase that doesn't make it sound so, you know what I mean? It's just so harsh.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, no, it's Iowa. Like, oh my God. Like, but other than that, like, it's just like nice because everything gets like tied together, because his biggest regret in the whole movie was how he left things with his father. And it's just like great that it got to be resolved and everything. Yeah. And how the entire movie tied back to his dad, like from start to finish, which was a really nice, like, poetic, storyline.
Yeah, good story arc for Ray Kinsella to come to basically realize that, like, he messed up his relationship with his father and probably getting the chance to correct it through this baseball field. That,
and also, like, I feel like he didn't realize how it is to be an adult. You know, you don't realize how much your parents sacrifice, or even if you think they're kind of being mean or harsh, until you're their age and you're like, oh, well, I understand why he's behaving that way, because it's hard to do new things.
Yeah. It is, and it's also something we learned from Ray, too, is that Ray talks about at the beginning of the movie in the montage how he's played it completely safe his entire life, where, like, he got married, he had a farm, he went in the middle of the country, he just kind of just lived in every man's life. Now he's doing crazy things like building a baseball field, driving to Boston to find a reclusive writer, going to Minnesota, picking up hitchhikers. Like, he's living life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go ahead. Like, obviously, I think an A for this movie. Would you agree?
I'd give it a B+ for the fact that, like, you know, there's just some inconsistencies that I can't overlook. I'm a very harsh critic, but it is one of, like, my top 3 baseball movies.
Well, maybe we'll talk about that in the future. Maybe we'll go into more about which baseball movies are better.
Oh, your entire podcast nation listening will hate me for the baseball movies that I like. So I feel like this is where they'll like me. And then if we talk about it in the future about what other baseball movies I like, that's when they'll hate me. Well,
that's a tease, folks.
It is.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get out some more hardware. Who is the MVP of the movie, in your opinion?
MVP's gotta be just Moonlight Graham. I don't know. I just really stuck to that storyline. And, like, you know, like, tied for first is Annie. Like, I could not ever imagine, like, if I ever get married, my husband's like, I'm going to go build a baseball field. I'll be like, are you feeling all right? You're hearing voices? Are you good? Like,
yep.
Other than that, I think they're the 2 MVPs of the movie.
So basically, if that happened, you would basically asking your husband, are you on acid?
Yeah, probably. It might just be like a deja vu of the movie, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think those are good choices. I will go with Terrence Mann because I think, like, he takes it to another degree of excellence when James Earl Jones shows up. Like, we're kind of like we do plot a little bit before we get to him, and I think the fun really starts when James Earl gets in here.
All right, I can agree with that. The fun doesn't really start until he shows up.
Yeah. Let's go the other direction. Who is the worst character of this movie?
I mean, a little bit Ray. He's kind of like the LVP. For the fact that he kind of was a hella judgmental child. And then, you know, he cut down all his corn, almost lost his house. But who's more of the, like, the LVP is, his name is David, correct? Her brother?
Mark.
Oh, it's Mark?
Yep.
Literally, he, like, so annoying the entire film, hates everybody, also causes little Karen to almost choke to death.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, oh, don't sell. Like, what a change of heart, you crazy butt, you know?
Yeah, he only said don't sell because he finally saw the baseball players. That's the reason why he said not to sell.
I know. I understand, yeah, but, like, he should have believed in his sister and his brother-in-law.
Yeah. Yeah, he's on the top of the board there. My vote for the LVP goes to the woman complaining about Terrence Mann's book at the PTA meeting because, like, so completely out of touch with reality, this woman.
Oh my God, that's why it's not heaven in Iowa. It's just Iowa. That's why I guess that's why they had to say it. Like, is this heaven? No, it's Iowa because we have ladies like that at the PTA meeting.
That's why I was so happy with Annie. Was a good MVP pick because Annie puts her in her place hard and walks out there like,
he does.
Walks out there like, yes, democracy rules.
Yeah.
It's like the America of this film. That moment.
Yeah, she's so hyped up, and then freaking Ray's like, I gotta go, and she's like, what do you mean? Like, my stuff is super important. He's like, no, I figured it out.
Yeah,
it took away some of her thunder.
Although I will say she did gain like points of credibility for me when she was like, okay, that's a bridge too far. You're leaving the middle of this to go to Boston, and then like, I do think the fact they both have the same dream about him and Man watching the baseball game at Fenway Park was a bit nuts.
Yeah, they definitely needed that scene to be like, she's not a crazy person too. Like,
yeah.
Go ahead, go to Boston. Like, it was good that they had that scene. It really made things a little more realistic.
Yeah, it did. I think that's a good place to stop on Field of Dreams. We had a lot of fun diving into this. Sam, before we let you go, we always talk about the streaming picks and people come on here. What is some stuff you've been watching of late?
I've definitely been watching a lot of repeats of baseball games because I'm getting myself hyped. But for streaming purposes, I've been watching The Floor is Lava. It's definitely a very lighthearted show that you can watch like 2 episodes and then you kind of get bored of it. But it's like highly entertaining if you ever played with your friends The Floor is Lava. But this is just like on times 1,000. Yeah, so is it as crazy pants as the concept sounds? It's just like really okay. So remember when you were younger, you would watch Nickelodeon, like the game shows. Yes. So it's like that, but like 2020. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like corny and cheesy, but they still have to complete the obstacle course. You know? Yeah. That's like basically me summing up that show. Yeah, for me, it's like it almost makes it sound like it'd be more fun to do like a revival of like Guts when you have the kids go up the aggro crack at the end of the thing. That's what I would like to see. That was my favorite. I love that show. That and Legends of the Hidden Temple. Yeah, I was more of a Guts kid, and I love the aggro crag. I always like wanted to be able to do that one day. Like go up the rappel up the aggro crag and try and win the game. Right? Yeah. And I just love it. Like, do you have it? Good. Yeah. That's gonna be stuck in my head for like 3 weeks. Yeah. I might check that out just for curiosity how bad it is. If it's so bad it's good. That sounds like something I would be interested in. Like if you have like 30 minutes where you have nothing to do and you kind of want to scroll on your phone while watching something on TV, I think that's the perfect show for you. Yeah, I will say that's something I could keep an eye on. I want to get into the reboot of Unsolved Mysteries. They had that on Netflix, just dropped today. There's 6 new episodes out. I love the original show. That sounds like fun. Okay, I haven't seen any of those. I'll put that on my queue. Yeah, and in terms of like shows that I'm like just mindless when I have like stuff going on in the background, I want on the nostalgia trip, I will randomly throw on an old episode of like the original like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. That's always fun. Just like popcorn movie, like TV show. Yeah. Oh, I've also been putting on Whose Line Is It Anyway? Yes. On HBO Max. Yeah, it's John Stanko mentioned that recently. All the old episodes are on there. Yeah, and they're still hilarious as they were in 1998. Yeah, did you see the clip on Twitter a few weeks ago where Whose Line, I think, in the current version actually made a timely reference to systemic racism? Oh, no, I haven't. I'll have to go check that out. It was a Scenes from a Hat bit where they were pointing out, like I had something in reference to, like, I think it was like a police lineup sketch where, like, Wayne, like, basically, like, had Wayne and Ryan and Colin sitting there, and somebody was like, oh, like, tell us which person did this, and they were both, like, Ryan and Colin both, like, shoving towards Wayne. And then, oh, my God. And then Wayne did one where he held the white guys in the panel line. He left, and Aisha Tyler, who's the host, goes at Wayne's like, quick, point to me which of these 3 did insider trading? Oh my God! I'll have to watch that. That sounds hilarious. Yeah, I'll find it for you and send it to you. But Whose Line is definitely woke these days. Oh, very. All right, Sam. Thanks for all the time. I really appreciate it. Before I let you go, how can people keep up with you on social media? You can follow me at SDEROS5 on Twitter. That's probably the best way to reach me. All right. Thanks again, Sam. I really appreciate it. Well, thanks for having me.